2025 astrology. Are you ready for some unprecedented change? Like things changing in our lives that we have not seen before. We're moving into uncharted territory in 2025. I am wildly excited about what's on offer. I've translated this astrology into the biggest themes, and that's what I'd love to focus on this conversation, the biggest themes. I'll give you a little quick snapshot here, like a little taste test of what's coming for themes. Quickening. A lot of things in the outer planets are moving into air and fire. So a real quickening of intuition, a quickening of psychic capacities. That might be like another one that I could talk about a little bit, are what are these like gifts that are coming online? I've been talking a lot about sacred technologies. What are the sacred technologies of 2025, right? And we'll dive into that when we get into some of the themes, but this real moving into air and fire. So if you just feel into kind of yourself and you're moving into air and fire, what does that mean? Things are getting quicker. Intuitive hits are coming in a different way. Our psychic free radicals are going to be moving quicker in a different way. We're going to be affected and influenced more by energetics. This is kind of another theme to feel into. The energetics of things are going to influence us more. We're going to feel them more. We're going to become more conscious of the emotions that are sitting in a room, of someone's thoughts that are in a room. We're going to be feeling into more of this. So those of us who are psychic and sensitive, which let's face it, that is a good portion of those of you who hang out here at Rewilding, it's going to get bigger. We're going to feel more, see more, sense more. It's also beautiful because we're going to be able to take in more inputs from our environment. Let me give you another theme that's coming up is transparency and authenticity will be extraordinarily important. Yes, it's already important. We're already feeling that. But with Pluto having moved into Aquarius, Pluto is power in your authenticity, power in your, I like to use the words for Aquarius, fly your freak flag, right? It is you being like so true to you, authentically, deeply you, no matter how weird, how out there it is. That's Pluto in Aquarius saying that. Another theme, and again, I'll deepen into all of these in a little bit. Another theme is really moving into sovereignty. There's a lot of stuff moving into Aries out of Pisces. Pisces is watery boundaries. All is one, interconnected to the all of everything. A lot moving out of Pisces into Aries. That brings it back to self. This is going to be a really important year for self. Self-growth, self-decisions, life creation, self. Like we want to come back and feel into this, the empowerment of self, sovereign self. Right? It's stunning what's coming with this real focus on what is my contribution, what is my path, what is my calling, what is my purpose. Now, not to get like overboard on that, right, and get all egotistical about it, but this is going to be a big change. This is going to be a big change for a lot of us, is this focus on, let me say that like this, inner authority, your autonomy. Isn't that beautiful? Like your own inner authority. So not putting the power outside of yourself, not needing someone else to tell you, your Akashic record, not needing someone else to, give you like your reading, your forecast for the year. It's really this development. And this is one of the spiritual technologies that's switching on. I'll give us a little snapshot about that. I promise you, I'm going to slow this down in a second. I just want to give you all up front here, just a real quick, like feel into what 2025 is holding for us. Spiritual technology switching on. Brandon, what the heck are these? So if we were going to feel into the spiritual technologies that are switching on, it's going to be higher levels of intuitive capacities. It's going to be ways of channeling, like we can sometimes call it like how I got the download, I got the download. I heard it from my guides, or I'm channeling this information. That is going to go from like a 2-lane road to like a 4-lane on each side superhighway. Our capacities to do things like that. Also, our capacity to move. This is a big one. Our hearts changing, our capacity to move love through ourselves into the world. That's a big shift. I love this one. I love this one. That's part of Neptune, which is higher love, right? Higher heart. That's part of Neptune moving into Aries. Remember I talked about all that self stuff? So it's not outside of self anymore. It's actually the love moving through me and my capacity to channel like high level love and wisdom into my work. My capacity to channel it through my words, my capacity to channel it into my relationships, into my, daily grounded, mundane experiences. Love this. All right. Let's take a big deep breath. I'm going to invite you to move through this conversation in the way that most serves you. For some of us, it's going to be come back to this multiple times throughout the year. You might want to bookmark this conversation, save it. I don't know how you want to do that, but up to you. You might want to grab a journal and a pen, write down. I'm not going to go too specifically into dates. I do that in the astrology deep dive. So there's another, I'll talk about that later on. It's an invitation to go further, but whatever, we could talk about that later. I'll talk a little bit about some of the dates and some of the transits, but I mostly want to just give you the big themes for 2025. All right, here we go. Theme number 1 is we have to talk about the deep transformation that's coming. Every astrologer is pointing to the enormous amount of transformation that's coming in 2025. Now, astrologers say that every year, right? Like, so much change, and all that stuff. But here's the facts around it. Pluto has moved into Aquarius. We know that. Neptune, another outer planet, is also changing. Uranus, another outer planet, also changing. Saturn, another outer planet, also changing signs. Feel for this for a moment. You have known reality of Pluto and Capricorn for 20 years. The last 20 years, which really for me, I kind of only remember the last 20 years. I only remember Pluto and Capricorn. Now that's changed. So just feel for that. For 20 years, you've only known Pluto and Capricorn. It's now Pluto and Aquarius. So all of power dynamics, where you source your power from, where transformation is coming, where it's asking for an evolution. Pluto's an evolutionary point. An evolution has shifted. So where life is asking us to evolve and to a death for a rebirth, where power, we're asked to really work with our own power and power dynamics, that's completely shifted. And we've been in the same thing for 20 years. That's big. Now he's just getting started, right? He did that in November. He's just getting started. I'm talking about it here because all of this is happening within months. This is intense on our systems. All right, so the next one that I want to talk about, let me just grab my notes here because I have, the next one I want to talk about, I have them in a little bit of an order. So that was Pluto in November. These are a couple dates rough. I'm not giving you exact dates, but at least the months so you can kind of feel into it. Neptune. Now, Neptune, we've only known Neptune for the last 12, 13 years. We've only known Neptune in Pisces. So for 13 years, you've known Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces, this is your mystical mind. This is the mystical mind. This is the aspect of you that hold spirituality, that hold higher love, that hold mystic. We've only known the mystic in the sign of the mystic, the Pisces. Pisces is the sign of the mystic. So we've only ever known Pisces. I mean, if you can remember past 13 years, I know I certainly get pretty attuned to something that's been in something for 13 years, right? I ain't looking back past that. I have no idea what mystic mind is not in Pisces. I can't remember that. But feel for this. Your mystic mind is moving out of the spiritual sign of Pisces, out of the mystic, right? Into self. The deepest, most intense sign of self. The mystic is dropping into self. That's huge. That in itself is massive, right? So power shifted, right? That was Pluto. Power shifted after 20 years into a sign that is less structure and is more about your uniqueness. It's more about your uniqueness and it's more about outside connections, Aquarius, outer thinking, outer world, outer planetary, right? So this massive expansion out of earthy grounded, right? Earthy grounded Capricorn, earthy grounded, right? Into this free free, expansive, unique self. That's where your power is at, and that's where deep transformation is at. And now let's talk Neptune, right? Neptune shifting the mystic in you. The mystic in you. This is the mystic in you. This is like the mystic shifts out of the monastery, which is Pisces essentially, and shifts into like lands right in you. Basically lands in your ego. Yourself, not ego bad, but ego self, who I identify with, what I identify with. The mystic just landed in your ego, in yourself, who you identify with. This is going to be an identity crisis like nobody's seen before. I mean, we've not known this. Never in your life have you experienced, because it takes too long. He's in a sign for 13 years, 12 zodiac signs. I mean, you'd have to be alive way past the oldest person on the planet to have experienced Neptune in Aries. We've never experienced this. So going back to this number one theme of insane amounts of transformation, insane amounts of unprecedented transformation and change, how we experience ourselves and the world around us is going to be so different. Let me keep going with this because I really want to give you a feel. To me, this is giving you a feel, like the experience of this. It's also, let's just say, kind of activating us in a way. Having this conversation, making it through the whole of this conversation is activating these energies in us. It's activating the mystic inside of self. Just you bringing your conscious awareness to it starts to activate that. Why would we want to activate that? Well, because then we get into like this big, beautiful river of grace and flow. And instead of fighting against it, right? Instead of fighting against it, we're like, all right, cool. I don't need to waste a lot of time, effort, energy fighting this. I don't need to stay stagnant, stuck in the old, grasping onto the mystic in the monastery. When I've started to activate the mystic in myself, right? And just feel like that's just a much more ease-filled, grace-filled, blessing-filled kind of a way to move through 2025. So that's really kind of my aim, right? Everything we do is about embodiment, activation, right? Like your highest path forward. All right, let's keep going with this. So that's Neptune moving into Aries. That happens in March. Now, he's going to retrograde back and forth. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as a theme. But March is the first time he moves in to Aries. Then we have Saturn. Saturn. This is a little bit of a shorter thing. This happens in May. I'm kind of going step by step by step. Saturn is only 2.5 years in a sign. So you've remembered Saturn in other signs, right? You've remembered Saturn when he wasn't in Pisces. It's still going to be different though, because I also know my system, if I've done something like I've lived here in California for 2.5 years, I'm pretty adjusted and attuned to California living. Like, yeah, I remember Colorado mountain living, right? That was only 2.5 years ago. I remember it, but I'm really pretty steeped in living in California right now, in the energetics of California. So we're all pretty steeped. Father Time, Lord of Karma, your structures, your foundations, manifesting, that's all Saturn. Father Time, Lord of Karma, manifester, right? He has been in that same sign of Pisces. He's been in the monastery. He's been in the monastery with Neptune, right? He's been in that spiritual sign. Now, he's like grounded, earthy, great manifester, right? I want to be in the world. I want to give you like the life lessons that you need to get the soul growth that you really signed up for. He's moving into Aries. You want to talk about now he gets to function, now he gets to operate, now he gets to bring it in, and it's into self, right? It's not into like a sign of your home or a sign of relationships. Oh no, he's bringing it front and center. You, sunshine, you, Aries, you. This is you. This is the you that you identify with, the you that you are conscious of. I am going to bring it in there. That's a big shift, right? That happens in May. Now, Jupiter moves into Cancer. That's just another change. He moves every year. So we definitely remember Jupiter and other signs, but Jupiter's grace bomb. So grace bomb was in the sign of Gemini. You can think short-term travel. You can think the mind. You can think thinking. It's like a mercurial sign, mercurial energy, thinking. Jupiter grace bomb expansion. He's moving into Cancer. Cancer, this is your deep emotional nature. It's like the crab. Cancer's the crab. And underneath that hard exterior shell is a soft, intuitive, Remember that other theme I mentioned early on is your intuition. Jupiter in Cancer is going to expand your intuitive, deep, emotional nature. There's magic there. There's grace there. That's Jupiter. Magic and grace to be held there. Cancer also represents home. Magic and grace held in your sense of home, home in yourself, home in your people, your community. Where do you feel home at? Now that happens in June. So that's a big shift from like grace bombing, expansive of the mind, like grace is in the mind, grace is in like zippy, quick, mind, go, to deepening in the water sign of Cancer, intuition, emotional depth. That's an enormous shift. Now wait, there's more, right? This isn't it. So now here's a big one. Uranus spends 7 to 8 years in a sign. So for the last 7 to 8 years, you've only known Uranus and Taurus. You're about to find out what Uranus and Gemini is like. That to me is going to be real interesting. This is going to be like, how is our nervous system going to handle this? Uranus nervous system, how are we going to handle this insanity, right? Gemini, again, it's like quick. It's like electricity, quick, right? The mind, I was just talking about it with Jupiter in the mind. It's like super quick, lightning speeds. You can almost think of like the internet, like how things can just travel instantaneously. You can access anything, anytime. Now, Uranus is literally the sign of the nervous system, like the sign of the nervous system. And so it was kind of nice having Uranus and Taurus, challenging for certain reasons, and we'll talk about that for a minute, but it was like the grounding in the electrical current, grounding in. You can think of Uranus as lightning bolt. Well, a lightning bolt hits a lightning rod, and the whole point of it is to ground it in. That was Uranus and Taurus last 7-8 years. When we got hit by the lightning bolt energy of Uranus, right? It was able to ground through our system. We were able to ground it in. We ain't got no grounding in Gemini. There is zero grounding in Gemini, right? Gemini is air. So now we have lightning bolt Uranus, which is radical revolutionary. It's also Kundalini awakening. So you can think of just like this, like quick, zippy, sudden changes, shock and awe, completely unpredictable. And now it's got no place to ground in. We're going to want to take really good care of our nervous systems. We're going to want to figure out what this change means to us personally and uniquely. This first happens in July. So we're going to want to really pay attention and be so okay to start to have to look at all of 2025 to completely relearn about yourself, because who you were is not who you're going to be. So we could look at all of these planets, the part of you that is the Jupiter in you, the part of you that is the Saturn in you, the part of you that is the Uranus in you, the part of you that is the Neptune in you. All of these parts of self, they are about to be flavored with very different energy. That's what it means when they move signs, right? So flavored with very different energy. So where you sourced your power from, Pluto, now flavored differently. You're standing on different ground. You're mystic. Where you sourced your spirituality from, where your mystic mind went, is now standing on different ground. Saturn, where you created from and built from and where you manifested from, is now standing on different ground. We're going to need to learn these operating systems. It's like you have to relearn your whole operating system because it's going to be getting an upgrade. You're going to need to learn, how do you manifest from there? How do you work your spirituality from there, your mystic mind? How do you work your power from that new place? Now, let me just give you a feel for these other two. How do you tap into grace and good fortune, Jupiter, from the new place? Grace and good fortune from a deeper, more intuitive place. It's shifted. So we want to come at this of, wow, I am going to discover the newness that is me. I'm going to discover the newness that is me in 2025. And I'm going to be really open. One of the greatest things we can do in 2025 is do not cling to who you thought you were, right? Is to be so curious about self. Let me finish off. I just said Jupiter, the grace and good fortune, how you tap into that is going to shift in 2025. And then finally Uranus, right? Where your like revolutions, where your radical awakenings come from, where your big rapid shifts and changes come from, where your like insights, right? It's like creative genius insights, where it was maybe more body-based for some of us, or it was maybe more embodied, or maybe we had to like bring it all the way through our body and ground it in. We don't have to do that anymore. It's just going to be Gemini. It's coming in, bang, 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 bang. I'm just giving you that as an example that that's how it could show up. It will show up like that for some of us. But how do we adjust to that? How do we adapt? 2025 is about adapting. It's about adapting to the new you. And it's like constantly, every single month, the whole year, because these planets, they're going to move in, and then some of them are going to retrograde back. And then they're going to move back in. So the whole year, all of 2025, it's really being so curious about who you're changing into, how your mind is changing, how your heart, Neptune, is changing, how your manifesting abilities are, how your power center, solar plexus, is changing, what you're grounded and anchored into, right? How your nervous system operates. Really exciting. This to me is part of all this talk around new human. What is the new human? And you can just take that into self, and just based on those things, who am I becoming? What is the new Sabrina that I'm becoming? And to it's like every spiritual tradition will say, go in with beginner's mind, with childlike curiosity. And it's to go in with childlike curiosity about self. How, what are my new habits that support my nervous system? What is my new sacred self-care that, supports my increased psychic abilities? What does my daily routine look like? Because everything's gotten more buzzy and quicker. Those are the sorts of questions that we really want to be asking ourselves all year. I'll give you a couple tips here. I love these things. I like to call it the power in the pause. So the power in the pause. Our nervous systems get so entrained. We get so habitual, right? And we stop being open to what's the newest, truest way of doing something. What's the thing that most serves. And so power in the pause, it's like we pause. So finding moments where you can literally take yourself offline. You can just power down, like you power down your system, power in the pause. Maybe it's you go away for a weekend. Maybe you like staycation, retreat, internal, quiet, complete shutdown. Think about your phone, right? When your phone is getting constant upgrades. This is us in 2025. Constant. Almost every single month, we are getting another upgrade. And in that, we want to power down so we can reset. You want to think about building in reset moments. Maybe even look through your calendar now, right? You look through January, February, March. If you want to get the dates on everything, the Astrology Deep Dive is where that's at. I do that in membership. So in Bones, if you're part of membership, if you're part of Rewilding Community, you're going to get that either the first or just after the first when we get it in there. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it'll be in there. But if you're not a member, come be a member for a month. Grab the dates, dive in, get more of the activations, right? It's more of an activation as well as activating all of these different energies in ourselves so that we can align with them in 2025. But back to this practice you might want to do is grab the dates, look through your calendar, possibly schedule in reset time. Schedule in reset time, schedule in downtime, schedule in when you, as the operating system, right? You as your, like I have an iPhone, right? You as the iPhone, when do I get to power down? When do I get to power down for a day, for half a day, for a weekend, for a couple days, whatever it is. And building that in can be really, really, really powerful. Power in the pause. There's another word that I like to use, pattern interrupt. It's kind of the same thing. A pattern interrupt. I need a pattern interrupt. So we can cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary pain if we're operating in old patterns, right? Old patterns. It's like how your phone, when all the upgrades have happened, like in Wi-Fi and in all of the apps, but you're on an old operating system. It's really painful. Shit gets glitchy. It powers down. It gets messed up. We're like the same. We're the same. So we really want to do these pattern interrupts so that we're not running on old operating system in the new energy, because that's what's going to be happening every single month this year. All right, I want to keep going with these themes. Let's do this thing. All right, if you need to take a pause, take a pause. But we're just getting started. Yeah, I know. There's so much to go into. We're just getting started. That was one. I think I have like 8 themes, right? That was one. I've mentioned a couple of them. I want to go into, let me feel for a quick second. I've mentioned a few of these themes in kind of this first theme, which is everything's going to be completely different. Like unprecedented change, unprecedented transformation. Everything is going to look completely different by the end of 2025, including ourselves. Let's go into this one. I really love this one. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to get through all of these themes. I will put them all in the astrology deep dive, but we're going to go for it. I'm not going over an hour though. Like that I've promised myself, because I start to like lose my voice after an hour. So we'll do what we can in an hour. All right, next theme. This is the big one because I definitely want you to have this one. Is the 29th degree of a sign is one of the most karmic points in a sign. 0 degrees is really fucking karmic too. 29 degrees is called the anaretic degree. It is the point in a sign where when a planet, which is a part of self, when a planet part of self gets to 29 degrees, it is now like you are gonna get the karmic lessons. You're gonna get the lessons before this part of self moves out of that territory. Before this part of self moves out of that territory, it is now coming in hot and heavy. Everything that you haven't gotten yet, it's coming in. It's coming in. It's gonna mess with life. It's gonna mess with everything because you signed up for it. Like, here it is. That's what that 29th degree is. It's a shadow work sign. It's a here's the hidden stuff that you didn't see. It's a dark night of the soul kind of a degree. Dark night of the soul. It's like kind of that power down area that we were talking about, when it's like, it just got dark. It just got dark because you are going through massive shedding. It's a massive shedding, massive releasing the old on that 29th degree. Now, there are all of the planets that are changing signs. Also, Mars changes sign, Venus changes sign. I'm not talking about them because they do that every year, right? Their cycles are much shorter. Mercury, we all know, changes signs, right? The moon changes signs like every 2 fucking days. Everything's changing signs. Everything's changing signs. But when so many of these outer planets, where it's a 20-year cycle, a 13-year cycle, a 7-8-year cycle, right? A 2.5-year cycle, they're also hitting this 29 degree mark. This is a karmic year. It is a karmic year, a shedding year, a shadow work year, possibly a dark night of the soul year. Now, my sense is if we create the space and we consciously, we create the space for these moments, these times, and we have a lot of compassion for self, we'll move through this a lot quicker. If we don't cling on to our old identities, it's not going to be like a dark night of the soul. So dark night of the soul, it's actually dark night of the ego, because we're clinging on to old ways, and that's what makes it so dark, so painful, so hard, so horrific, right? For those of you who've been walking the spiritual awakening path for a while, or just a conscious evolutionary path, we know like those first couple of spiritual awakenings, like the big ones, they were pretty much like dark night of the soul. Like they were harder for most of us, not all of us. They were harder because we clung a lot more. We clung to who we thought we were. We clung to the old. We clung to that identification of self much, much, much more. Then further down the track when, big, huge shifts can be happening. But we're so okay. We're so okay with, and we know, we have like this gnosis, we have the experiential gnosis, which you can't get that from reading a book, right? You only really get it from experiencing the shit. But we get this experiential gnosis of like, oh, I'm just in one of those periods of like, Phoenix rising, but I'm in like the death ashes phase right now. Cool. And you've been through it, so you know how to support it. It's okay that you power down. It's okay that your mind is suddenly not working the same way that it was before. It's okay that your body's got all these weird physical symptoms. P.S. This is going to be happening a lot. It's going to be happening. So if you look up like ascension symptoms, repeatedly this year, repeatedly. So just get used to like detoxy feelings, get used to the brain being all jazzed up, get used to body weirdness going on, sleep weirdness. Of course, go see doctors when you need to see doctors, right? Of course, all of that. But just know that in this transformation, it is whole body, whole mind, whole heart, whole soul. It is everything. Everything is being touched by it because everything's moving. Every planet's moving signs. That's big. That's big. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this 29th degree. Here's the wild part. This is what makes this even bigger. It makes it even bigger. Like, yeah, the planets are just changing signs. Whatever, they have to go through the 29th degree. Here's the really good shit about 2025. Six of these planets are going to retrograde. That means they're going to go backwards over 29 degrees. Okay, retrogrades, it's not like a Mercury retrograde, right? Where they're like, communication is bad. If you've been hanging out with me for any length of time, you will know that a retrograde is a soul sojourn deep into your inner underworld to make some wild, radical changes. But it is a deep soul sojourn, dark night of the soul, shadow work, going into the hidden, the unconscious, right? That's a retrograde. That's actually what a retrograde is. It's actually what a retrograde is. So there are 6 planets, 6 of these archetypes of you, aspects of you, 6 of these aspects of you. They're not just going to go over 29 degrees to move into the next sign. They're going to do that. Then they're going to go back. They're going to go back. They're going to go backward over 29 degrees. Now, when they go backward over 29 degrees, they want you to evolve more. They want you to move more of your karma and open up to more of your dharma. Now, the 6 planets that are doing this are Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Mars, Venus, Mercury. They will all be retrograding over that anaretic degree, over that 29 degree. That insanely karmic degree. So feel into this. Let me summarize this for us. Wanting you to move more karma, release more karma, release more old, outdated ancestral patterns, past life patterns, crap from this life, release more and open up to more dharma. What it is that you really came here to do, to experience, to awaken to in this life. Your dharma. What is your dharma? Your dharma, your destiny. 6 of them. 6 of them. 6 of them. Isn't this great? This is great. Now, Neptune is 29 degrees Pisces. Saturn is 29 degrees Pisces. Venus is 29 degrees Pisces. And Mercury is 29 degrees Pisces. Why am I pointing this out? Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Okay, moving into Aries. Aries is the first sign. Okay, that's the next level of reset. That's the next level. That's going out of the last degree of the last sign. 4 of these planets, 3 personal, Mercury, Venus, Saturn can be pretty personal, right? Neptune, he's the mystic in us. But this is insanity. It's mind-blowing the amount of transformation. Back to theme number 1, this is unprecedented change. It's unprecedented change. Here's what I would love to highlight. The opportunity here is astronomical. The opportunity to completely recreate yourself anew is out of this world astronomical. We won't see this again. The last time 4 outer planets changed within a year was in the 1700s. We aren't going to see this again. And we're not going to have this many planets shifting signs and going retrograde to give us this amazing opportunity to shift. I like saying shed the shit. That's karmic shadow work. You shed the shit. This opportunity to shed the shit. Now, here's the other interesting part. As we talk about karmic shadow work and talk about shed the shit, there's also this, when we shed the shit, how much of that golden shadow, the gifts and the wisdom that reside underneath that, how much of that we're able to now tap into, now access, now embrace, embody, and express through ourselves into the world. Dharma, you're reclaiming your wisdom and your gifts that you came in with, but you had to shed the shit to get to them, right? You had to remove the false layers. You had to remove, because it's growing through the experience of it. It's growing through, it's karma. It's karma. Our soul also came here to do that. It also came here to do the hard stuff. It came here to have the family you have. It came here to have the weird relationship shit you got. It came here to have the weird mother-daughter, son, dad stuff you have. It came here for all of that. But the quickening, how fast this is going to go, I like to call this point miracle point. It's miracle point. It's miracle magic point. It's miracle magic point. It's stunning. It's stunning. It is stunning. It is stunning. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how much I can move through this year. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how much more of myself I can open up to this year. And the same for you. I cannot wait to see what you're able to heal, let go of, drop, change. Finally. Finally. It's like those things that we thought we'd never be able to change. I never thought I'd be able to change my relationship stuff. Y'all, I had some wild relationship karma. Fucking wild. I'm not saying that I don't still have, right? This is a whole lifelong journey, constant evolution, constantly moving, constantly becoming more and more love, constantly becoming, whatever. But there are things where I just look, and even this year, 2024, I just go never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that to change for me. Never in my wildest dreams. And I have people in my life who literally look at me and they're like, this is unbelievable. They've known me my whole life. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I don't even know who you are. And it's all led to more love, more joy, more freedom. There's this freedom from the heaviness, this freedom from these old patterns, this freedom, shed the shit. So 2025 is that, and I don't know, maybe just take a moment, maybe pause the video here and just take a moment, fuck, how am I going to support that? How am I going to support myself in that? How am I going to support myself to shed the shit? How am I going to support myself to do the shadow work, to drop my karma, to do this? Who are the people I need to be around? I've got some really good Ankara, some real good soul friends, and they call me out on my shit, right? I've also got a whole boatload of practices, right? Whole boatload of practices and a really solid daily discipline practice where I take myself into that, right? But if you don't, find the ways, find the things. Rewilding's got a ton of them. I might not be for you. Rewilding might not be for you, but maybe it is. Membership's fucking where it's at. I'm telling you, every month we're live 2 hours in the current energy. We're going to ride this wave every single month. All of these changes, all of these shifts, every single month in membership, we ride that wave. We ride that wave. When the mystic in you comes out of the monastery and that mystic in you is moving out of the monastery and is moving into self, holy shit, what does that mean? We're going to work in that territory. We're going to actively, consciously work in that territory to shed the shit, to do the karmic work, to tap into the magic and the miracles that are available in 2025. Again, this might not be for you. Rewilding might not be your thing, but man, oh man, if you're feeling any of this big change, just find something that's going to support you through all of these aspects of self changing and all of this amount of karmic work, soul work we get to do, shadow work we get to do to shed the shit and open up to potentials you didn't know you had. I mean, that's the whole point. The whole point is to live more, love more. The whole point is to have more freedom in life, more joy in life, more bliss, more purpose, more fulfillment. That's the whole point, That's what opens up in us. And so, anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I just get so fired up and so excited, and I just want us all to be able to have these opportunities, like have these opportunities to do this, to go for it, to do this. All right, let me move on. Here we go. We're going back into themes. We've got about 20 minutes left. Let's see what else we can get through. So that's the karmic point. That's the big karmic one. That's theme. I don't know what number we're at this point, but let's move into, I want to talk about this one. I'm really feeling this as a theme that's going to get louder and louder and louder as 2025 goes on, is our authenticity, our transparency, and our authenticity. So if one of the other themes, right, we're all getting more psychic. We're all getting more empathic. The clairaudient, sentient, we just know. Like, we know, I know your thoughts, I know your feelings, I just know. I know your inner intentions. Where we're going to be like superpower humans is when those inner intentions, those inner thoughts, those inner feels match up with the words coming out of our gosh darn mouth. They match up with how we are presenting on the surface level. This is going to be, this is a superpower gift. This is superpower, superpower is all of that inner world matching our outer world, right? And how that is received, because we are all getting these heightened spidey senses. You are, right? And the person next to you is too. All your girlfriends, guy friends you're talking to, their spidey senses are off the dang charts. That's part of one of like the superpowers that's opening up in us humans. And it's going to open up more and more and more this year. But here's the thing is, I am getting so discerning about who's lying, and even just a little bit lying. I don't like it, right? It rubs me wrong. I don't like it. I can feel it. I know it, and it jams my system. You're saying one thing, but I feel something else going on in you. It's jamming up my system. So for us to really, really like own, and some of the things that can help us own our deepest truths, like be transparent, be vulnerable, be just authentic, is self-love. It's the greatest one. It's the greatest thing that I can share with you is self-love. I love myself so dang much that I just don't care. I don't have a judgment around myself. I don't have a judgment telling you, I'm okay to tell you, wow, I worked through some serious relationship shit in 2024. Because I have this like compassion and this like just love and love my human side. This is something else for this, especially as AI gets rolling, because y'all know, we've been hearing that in the astrology forever, right? Pluto in Aquarius, and now Neptune going into Gemini. Oh my God, it's just going to be AI everywhere and like technology. We know that. But what is your response to it? Theme for this year. All those things are moving into Aries, right? Self, our humanity, your humanity, this non-judgment of your humanity, this compassion, this love for your humanity, this love, this coming out, Neptune coming out of Pisces, right? The mystics coming out of the monastery, coming into self, coming right into the ego. It is going to be like, this like, out there external enlightened thing that I thought was the spiritual path. I'm actually realizing it's not that. I'm actually realizing that's going to mess up a lot of people. That's a theme that's going to mess up a lot of people. Your spiritual belief system is about to get hijacked like it ain't nobody's business. Yeah, I know, the ground you thought you were standing on around like what's the path you're taking for your spirituality, that's going to be shifted, altered. It's literally like the rug is going to get pulled out from underneath you. For some of you, it's going to be like the fall of your teacher, fall of your guru, fall of that tradition. Religion's going away. We all know that. It's outdated. It's old. It doesn't fucking serve anymore. And there's going to be this autonomy and this like soul-centered self, like your soul esteemed, you're spiritually esteemed from within. But for some of us, that's going to have to take the rug being pulled out from under us. For some of us, it's going to have to take the veil being removed, right? And it's going to hurt. I remember this has happened to me multiple times on this path, is the paradigm of the path that I thought it was. The whole paradigm just gets wiped out and you're like, oh my God. It's the next level. It's not that paradigm didn't serve. It's not that framework or that tradition or that those practices didn't serve. They served, they got me here. But now, right? It's not true. It can't hold the level of consciousness you're moving into. That's going to happen a lot. That's a huge theme. Cannot hold the old paradigms, the old structures, the old religions, the old traditions, the old teachers, the old whatever. Cannot hold the paradigm of consciousness that you are shifting into. The spiritual wisdom you are now holding. The spiritual gnosis you have that's awakening in your bones. You got too big for that tradition. You got too big for that paradigm. You got too big for that framework. You got too big. That whole belief system, faith system, crumbles. Crumbles. Dark night of the soul, baby. Support and self through that stuff though too, right? Support and self through that stuff too. Make good choices around that, good self-care. Okay, let's keep going. We've talked a lot about this. I do want to talk about this quickening a little bit more. This is another theme, is the quickening. We talked about out of earth and water, right? Out of earth and water. So many things are moving into Aries, into Gemini. We're moving out of earth and water. We've been very accustomed to earth and water. There's a certain speed that we've manifested at. There's a certain speed that we've, been able to take in information, create something, and then bring it out into the world. There's a certain speed that we got accustomed to in earth and water. It's now moving into fire and air. That is so much quicker. It is so much quicker, so much quicker. This can be sort of spoken about or felt into moving from a yin energy, earth and water, yin, right? Slower, softer, yin energy, to yang. Yang, I'm going to pioneer it. I'm going to make it happen. Let's do this thing. Go, right? It's fire and air, yang. That, some of us, we are going to rail against it. Let me feel for just words that serve. The world's going to be doing that, right? Parts of ourselves are going to be doing that. And it's really holding this very curious, how do I support myself in this? How do I support myself in this? Because this is what's happening. This is where the world is moving. For now, it's a cycle. It's going to change. But, instead of fighting, what is? It's like, okay, how do I adapt? How do I personally, uniquely, this is the question, you want to sit with this all year. How do I personally and uniquely adapt and adjust to this all year long? That's the question. How do I? Maybe it feels like you've been given lemons. How do I make lemonade out of lemons? Right? How am I uniquely called to now move out of yin into yang? How am I uniquely called to live in a world that is very yang? Maybe your inner world is very yin, right? Okay. And you're really called, and that is your deepest truth, is to just really, really honor your yin capacities. Your yin capacities. You could also say that those are your feminine capacities. How do I, what is truest for me? Okay. I don't want to get stuck in all of that for too long. You can feel for you and adjust accordingly. Okay. This is one that I love and I really want to talk to because I'm feeling this as a big shift and a big change. Our true north, your true north, that is your highest unfolding in this life, right? It's the nodes of fate, your north node and your south node. South node is where you came from. North node is where you're headed in this life. It's your destiny, right? North node, it's your purposes in this life. Those nodes of fate are shifting. So collectively in the sky, in January actually, the nodes of fate will shift out of relationship access into spiritual access. This is interesting. I'll give you a couple different things to feel into around this. So the north node, that's purposes, is shifting into, get this, all this energy that I've been talking about that we're coming out of, into Pisces. So what is it that supports your purpose awakening? Spirituality. What did I just say is changing wildly? Spirituality. All this is going to be interesting, how we all get discerning in this and how we all make really, really good choices around what is the truest spiritual path for you. Because spiritual path is going to be incredibly important for your purpose. For your purpose, for your fulfillment in life, your purpose, your North Node, your destiny. It is now very, 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 very linked to spirituality, spiritual practices, and whatever spirituality means to you. It's very linked to it. Very linked to it. So your greatest expression in this life, follow your bliss, your destiny. What am I here for? What do I have this one great, beautiful, wild life for? What is it? What is it that makes me feel fulfilled? What is it that makes me feel on purpose and aligned? Spirituality is going to be a very important part of opening that up further, of keeping you in alignment with that. But it's not the old spiritual practices, it's going to be the new spiritual practices. So what is your new spirituality? What is your new practices? What is your new? That's wild. So those nodes of fate will stay there for 18 months. The eclipses, there are 2 eclipses. Again, I'll talk more about this in the astrology deep dive. That's in membership. It's $59 to get all access for a month. You could join for a year, get 2 free months, whatever. You can feel into this for yourself. You're welcome to join for a month, for a year, for 2 months, for whatever. It's there, it's open. And if you want to go further into that 2025 astrology, it's ready for you. But those eclipses are going to be happening in March and September. So that's when it's like wild card cosmic avalanches are going on. That it just gets really, really, really intense. And so around March and September, it's going to get really, really, really intense to align you with your highest path forward, your true north. It's the nodes of fate that are involved in eclipses. Is why they're so wild, because it's literally like soul takes the front seat. But now it's going to be soul takes the front seat instead of being on the relationship axis and learning through relationship. That was the last 18 months. Learning through self versus other. We're now going to be learning through spiritual practices, but spiritual practices that are in alignment with ourselves, with the new and the true. Okay, let me see. We got a couple more minutes. I like this word for 2025, crossover year. And just feel into that for a minute. It's the crossover year. And it's going to take time. We don't want to hear that. I know. It's going to take time for all of these changes to happen. So it's a crossover year. All of these outer planets moving, most of them, right? They're going to go over, then they're going to go back past that 29th degree, right? That big karmic point, and then they're going to come back. So 2025 is a crossover year. How can we support ourselves in a crossover year? If we walk into 2025 expecting big change, we can probably support it a little bit better. Just like, wow, I'm expecting that I'm not going to look the same coming out of 2025 as I looked going into it. My life is not going to look the same as it did. My life at the end of 2025 is not going to look the same. Can I set some kind of intention for 2025? And I love, our membership is called Living Close to the Bone. Can I set some kind of intention that is along those lines of like living so close to my truth, like walking that razor's edge of truth, living close to the bone, like I'm so close to the bone. I'm living so close to my razor's edge of truth. And it's changing. Can I walk through 2025, right? So open. Here's the thing, so open to the changes being bigger and better than I could possibly fathom them. So open to life looking bigger and better, because we're going to be working through all the karma dharma stuff, right? And like 29th degree, all the things shifted, 29th degree to 0 degree, right? 0 degree is a 0 point. I'll maybe end on that in a moment. can I be so open and not limit the magic, not limit, how do I hold an intention that I'm open to the miracles, I'm open to thinking bigger, I'm open to a breakthrough, I'm open to the gifts and the grace and the blessings and the recreation of my life being so much bigger than I could possibly have imagined it. How do you get into that for yourself? I'm going to help us get into that in Rewilding membership, living close to the bone every single month, every time that we get together twice a month now on the 1st and the 15th. The 1st is a guided workshop that I take us through. The 15th is a wisdom circle where we tap back into the energy, and you get guided through the first part, and then we get to share and talk and deepen into everything that's going on that month. But how can you, right? How can you continually, it's going to be a continual attunement to, how can I continually stay open to things looking bigger and better, more aligned, more and more Dharma coming in than before. All right, I'm going to end on this theme is, I just want to see if that's the one. I'm really feeling into what is the greatest thing that I can share with you in these last couple minutes we have together. Yeah, I think it is 0 point. 0 point activation. So when all of these planets move out of that 29th degree, they activate 0 point. Now feel into a bit of mystery around 0 point. Just tap into a little bit of mystical wisdom around 0 point. 0 point. 0 point. Blank slate. Ground zero. This kind of supports what I was just sharing in the last little thread I was on of things can be so much bigger and so much greater than we can possibly fathom. It's also because we have so much of this 0 point energy. 0 point. It's literally blank slate. And from a blank slate, you can create any piece of art instead of being given an already pre-existing piece of art and now you have to tweak it and change it. It's like building a new house versus remodeling a house. It's that. We have so much 0 point energy, so much blank slate energy. For those of you who are working with creation energy with us in Rewilding or maybe outside somewhere else, these 0 point activations are going to take us into accessing creation energy to another level. Accessing creation energy. Creation energy is, let me feel how I can end. I want to end on this a little bit. The way that we create and the way that we manifest is going to be so different. It's speeding up. It's getting bigger. It's getting faster. And we're able to more consciously wield creation energy through ourselves. You're able to be a more conscious creator. You're able to tap into much more of the complete... Let me feel for this. My gosh, this shit's so hard to bring into words. Translating the ineffable into words is just ridiculous sometimes. This is one of those moments, but it's the amount of juice you're able to tap into is going to be infinitely bigger in 2025. Therefore, the amount of juice that you're able to move through yourself, holding your intentions and channeling into manifesting something, creating something, attracting something in is going to be bigger. What does that mean? You're going to want to watch your thoughts. Right? You're going to want to really go, where is my focus going? Where focus goes, energy flows. Where focus goes, manifesting happens. Where focus goes, creating happens, right? Where am I focusing? What am I thinking about? What is my emotional state of being? All of those things. We are becoming much more powerful in our consciousness. We want to work toward becoming more and more aware of our thoughts, more and more aware of where is our energy at, more and more aware of leaking energy, and really stepping into, this is some of that sacred technology that's switching on. Some of that sacred technology that'll be switching on in 2025 is the amount of creative juice that you can flow through you is infinitely more than you know. The amount that you are creating all of the time with your thoughts, with your actions, with your words is much more than you know. And the capacity to become more aware of it and to consciously wield it is a thing that's switching on really big. really, really big this year. We're working with that in California at the 5-day retreat on the Dragon Ley line. So if anyone's like, oh my gosh, what is this? That retreat, there's 4 spots left, 3 spots left maybe at this point, I'm not sure. Not many. It's only open to 28 participants. It's tiny, right? It's tiny. You're stuck with me for 5 days in creation energy, in all of this 2025 energy, activating this. How do you move this through you? How do you move? How do you work with this amount of juice moving through you? It's called priestess training, right? But I think we are all priests and priestesses in our own way. You are channeling light, you are channeling love, you are channeling grace all of the time. It's just how conscious of it are you and how much juice moves through you, right? All right, enough. I would love to see you in membership. That's the one that's going to support you through the whole year, through all of these transits. It's also where the 2025 astrology deep dive is. It's $59 for a whole month of access. There's 9+ hours, 8-9 hours of rewilding content in there, including New Year's activation that happens on January 1st, or happened on January 1st. That replays there, and this big astrology deep dive, which goes into all of the dates, more of these energetics. It goes specifics of what's going on in 2025. You'll want to refer to that throughout the year. Like, all right, great. It's January 1. What's going on January? February 1 comes along. You go watch that section. February 1, March, boom, right? It's a really beautiful way to support self through these wild, wonderful, amazing changes coming. Okay, I'd love to see you in the comments. I'm always there the first couple of days. Thank you all so much for making rewilding what it is. 2024 was amazing. I can't wait to see what happens in 2025. I cannot wait to see it. And I'm just grateful to be here with you. So much love to you for this year.